Hey YouTube, Kira Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Naturia Yugioh deck profile for the January 2024 ban list. We got some pretty cool cards off of the ban list that definitely can help with the power for the Naturia deck. Redox, the Elemental Dragon, being one of those cards, just to help with the special summon power that you can make use of with Redox to give you more resources on the field. It's always a nice touch to any Earth attribute deck, and with Naturia being a big Earth attribute deck, and Synchro Power Play being able to get out that resource for some of the generic Synchro summons that this deck can do. And also adding Snatch Steal to the deck as well just adds to more of that power. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck monsters. We're running 3 copies of Naturia Camellia. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send one Naturia card from your deck to the graveyard. If you would tribute a monster to activate a Naturia monster's effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard instead. And if your opponent normal or special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon one Naturia monster from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Camellia once per turn, so you have special summon power to grab other Naturia resources back onto the field from the graveyard. Sending cards to the graveyard means you can send cards like Naturia Sacred Tree, which is sadly still at 1, but you do have that 1 send of target if it's not in your hand, to then get another Naturia search from your deck to your hand, whether it be another Naturia monster or adding our Naturia Blessing from our deck to our hand as well to summon out another monster. And being a level 4 tuner helps to adjust with some of the other monsters we run in the deck to go into synchro plays, one of them being Naturia Mole Cricket. During the main phase quick effect, you can tribute this card to special summon 1 Naturia monster from your deck, or you can special summon 2 if your opponent controls a monster with the highest attack on the field. That giving you 2 resources to summon out onto the field, and even being able to summon Mole Cricket off of Mole Cricket as well. And if your opponent special summons a monster from the X-Deck, or you special summon a Naturia monster from the X-Deck while this card's in your graveyard, you can special summon this card back onto the field to then have that additional resource to use as a monster to then tribute during your opponent's turn if they get a monster that has higher attack than the synchro monster that you went for. And then for some of the other one-ofs, the 1 copy of Naturia Sunflower for the tribute of being able to tribute this card in 1 Naturia monster to negate the activation of an effect on an effect monster on your opponent's field that they control and destroy it. So being able to use the Mill 2 for your Camellia to power the Sunflower, and it being a non-once per turn effect means that you can use the Mill and then have the additional tribute on the field to then go for 1 more monster effect negate. And also the 1 copy of Naturia Antral could be another summon, and then with this card being able to summon more Naturia monsters from your deck every time your opponent special summons a monster, just to get the resources more and more on the field. The 1 copy of Naturia Marin for more of the recycle power for any of our Naturia monsters, and then the 1 copy of Horn Needle to stop the special summons of our opponent's cards by tributing another face-up Naturia monster you control, and then the 1 Bamboo Shoot, because I still am a big fan of the lockdown power that the Naturia deck can do by making it so your opponent can't even activate spell and traps, taking away from a good majority of the cards they may try to use. And then also, we're running the 1 copy of Redox, Dragon Ruler of the Boulders. If this card's in your hand or graveyard, you can banish a total of 2 Earth and or Dragon monsters from your hand and or graveyard, except this card to special summon it. During your opponent's end phase, if it was special summon, return it to the hand. You can discard this card and 1 Earth monster to the graveyard to target a monster in your graveyard and special summon that target. And if this card's banished, you can add 1 Earth Dragon type monster from your deck to your hand. So just being able to grab more resources with Redox by sending another Earth attribute can help to grab some of the more important Earth Naturia monsters back onto the field for you to use as well. And also the 3 copies of Lonefire Blossom, just a faster way to help to grab some of the more important plant monsters onto the field. You can tribute to Lonefire, summoning out Camellia, then having the search and send effect that Camellia can provide as well. With the last of the main deck monsters being the 3 copies of Ash Blossom and the 3 copies of Effect Dealer. What I do like now with the Naturia deck is there's just such a kick that the deck can do with just a 1 card combo start off if you have the Naturia Camellia to then give you another search, and then use that searched resource if you send Sacred Tree to grab one other thing to then at least get you a monster that can provide a lockdown on the field like Beast, and then have your hand traps to provide that additional backup. For the spells, we're running 3 copies of Naturia Blessing. For being a newer spell, it's pretty crazy that this card is not a once per turn. You activate one of these effects, you special summon a Naturia monster from your hand or graveyard, or immediately after this effect resolves, synchro summon 1 synchro monster, or fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as material. While the fusion summon I'm not running in this particular version of the deck just because it is a pretty big investment, you go more for the special summon power of Blessing, just being able to grab you a Naturia monster from your hand or graveyard back back onto the field for your summon, and then you can go for the synchro summon yourself, since most of the time you're doing this during your turn anyway. Also, the 2 copies of Pot of Prosperity. They didn't hit this card off of the ban list, so plenty of cards to banish in the extra deck to then get the particular search we might need for our field setup. The 2 copies of Triple Tactics Talent. Your opponent may try to stop either the Mole Cricket or the Camellia play, so at least then you'll have some draw power to potentially draw into a Blessing, or even take one of your opponent's resources to use, just like you can with Snatch Steal now. And also 2 copies of Miracle Fertilizer, just another way to even grab cards like Lone Fire from the graveyard if your opponent stopped that initial special summon. Then you cannot normal summon or set during the turn you activate this, but still, the following turn, if they stop that play and you go for a grab for the Lone Fire, you at least have another special summon option. And then also the 1 copy of Reasoning. We run a good number of different level monsters to be able to summon out on the deck as just additional resources. 1 copy of Call by the Grave. I potentially thought of making this Foolish Burial instead of this card, so we can set up Redox in the graveyard as well faster. And then the 1 copy of Snatch and Steal, just an additional resource to grab our opponent's cards to then use, just equipping it to a monster your opponent controls, taking control of the equipped monster, and then all they do is they gain 1,000 life points, but you still have one of their resources. And then for the traps, the 1 copy of Sacred Tree. Like I said, this card is at 1 on the ban list, but still, we have the search power. If we open it up on our hand, we have a way to go into the different insect and plant monsters by tributing them, vice versa, to summon out other ones onto the field. The 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence for more hand trap negation against our opponent using this card, especially if they have the chance to go first against you, and then we can activate from our hand as long as we control nothing on the field. And lastly, the 3 copies of Solemn Judgment for the counter trap spot for just additional power to protect cards like our Bamboo Shoot play if we go for that summon, to then stop our opponent's spell traps, and then we can use Judgment to stop any of the monster summons they may try to do as well. And then for the Synchro monsters, I run the 1 copy of Naturia Beast and the 1 copy of Naturia Barkion for the spell negations and the trap negations for both of these cards. You can easily make both of them as well with Camellia and then the varied monsters as well. So Camellia being a level 4 tuner with Mole Cricket can make Beast, and then any of our level 2 monsters like Antjaw or Sunflower to use the 2 of them together to make Barkion. Having just 1-ofs for each of them I feel is all you need. If you wanted to run the Fusion Exterio, I can show you what monster you can take out for a potential spot for that, but we're running a more heavier synchro lineup, so the 1 copy of Herald of the Arclight, the 1 Borreload Savage Dragon, the 1 Stardust Charge Warrior, the 1 Leo, and the 1 Black Rose Dragon for some of the more generic but still plant engine monsters to go into. Leo being a bigger level 10 monster also helps for its protection during the main phase 2, and then also the 1 Baron de Fleur, the 1 Goyo Guardian, since we are running all Earth attribute monsters for the majority of them, and the 1 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend to finish the synchro lineup. For the Link monsters, 1 copy of Link Karibo, the 1 copy of Mrs. Radiant. This could be also the Earth Charm removable, if you wish, as well for this spot. 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and the 1 Apollosa to finish off the rest of the extra deck also. And then as for some of the go-to combos in the deck, as I said before, you have the special summon option available to you now with the Redox play, being able to discard this 1 Earth monster in your graveyard to return this card for that special summon monster as well. So with this card, you can have the Camella play setup, being able just to send a Naturia monster from your deck to the graveyard as well. For that send, as long as you have the other Earth monster in your hand, to then send with the Redox play, you can summon that monster back onto the field, not taking up your normal summon, then have resources to then use on the field to be able to go into your synchro play, while giving you more of an engine to then use for the banish power of your Redox. Don't forget you have the Mole Cricket to summon on the field, continuing those resources to then even go for the Link plays using the Redox monsters and the additional ones you may want to summon out onto the field. You also have the play available to you for the Blessing combo, as I mentioned before, summoning out your Camellia, sending your Naturia Sacred Tree to the graveyard. This will add the Blessing to your hand. Then all you need is the additional Naturia monster in your hand to activate the Blessing, summoning it out onto the field, and then you have the same Naturia Beast play with that 1 additional resource to summon onto the field, summoning out the Mole Cricket, so you have a monster to tribute during your opponent's turn if they get a monster with a higher attack, to then set up the majority of the other Naturia monsters on the field as well, depending on what you tribute, to then have a tribute monster effect negation to stop them as well. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Just a quick update for one of my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh decks, taking more of a meta relevance with some of the other cards that have been used in other engines of the game. But I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.